What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, and today I'm gonna teach you why farmed Atlantic salmon is better than wild salmon. Don't shoot me yet. I've got some good reasons, and I love wild salmon too. Look at these absolutely beautiful fish from Hidden Fjord. Hidden Fjord puts out some of the best Atlantic salmon I've ever seen. First thing we're gonna do is give it some back scratches. We're gonna take the scales off with a curry comb. Yes, this is a curry comb. This is also used for de-shedding horses. It works great as a scaler. We're gonna start from the tail, work towards the head, nice long motions, and then you can get faster as you get comfortable with it. And if you use hot oil, the scales on salmon skin are edible if you can get them nice and brittle. But if you're not hitting them with hot oil to get them really brittle, we like to take them off. Make sure you get the scales off the belly. Make sure you get the scales off the collars. Flip it over, repeat the process. Put your hand underneath the belly. Make sure you get the edges of those bellies. Look how bright red and beautiful these gills are in these Hidden Fjord salmon. To have bright red gills coming all the way from Faroe Island is wildly impressive. Now we're gonna give it a rinse. This is not a high pressure powered hose. I've seen that in the comments before. This is a normal garden hose. Fresh water at this point is okay because there is no exposed meat yet. Once the salmon meat is exposed, we will not touch fresh water on it because the meat can absorb some of that fresh water, compromising the taste and texture and longevity of the meat. All right, now that we've got the scales off, he is ready to go under the knife. Look at that. First thing we're gonna do is check out those gills. There's a membrane right here. We're going to puncture right there, slide all the way down. The reason why we're doing that is we're going to cut the fillet off, leaving the collar on. I know you guys are waiting to hear why I think this is better than wild salmon. 2 seconds. First, let me show you this. There is a spot right here that the top of this collarbone is resting on top of the main collarbone. We're going to take our knife and slide right underneath that bone. Now we can pick up on that collar, so that way it's not in the knife's way. And we're going to push forward, giving our knife a little twist, and start giving a gentle push motion, little saw, making sure you feel the spine on your knife, and just let that spine guide your knife as you slide down. Da-da-da-da! Look how absolutely beautiful that salmon looks. The color in this fish is coming from astaxanthin. And I know that sounds like a chemical, scary word, but that is actually just the compound in krill that makes salmon orange. This fish is getting its beautiful orange color from krill. This fish also eats sardines and herrings. It has a wonderful diet of fish and krill, making its omega fatty acids very healthy. Now we're gonna take the membrane off. We're gonna wiggle our knife right underneath those rib bones and start sliding down those ribs. Make sure your knife feels the rib bones as you're sliding down. You don't want to cut through them, you just want to gently feel them. And we're going to continue sliding until we get to the bottom of those ribs, which is right there. You can see the bottom of the rib bones right there, and no bone fragments in here. Now we're going to take it off the top. Next up, we're going to take the pin bones out. You can use your knife and go the opposite direction of the bones. It makes them peak a little bit. Get your tweezers. You can buy these on readthefishmonger.com. Get a good grip on that pin bone and pull gently. I like having my finger right next to the pin bone. That prevents the fish's meat from following the bone. So get a good grip on it, finger right next to it, so that way the meat doesn't follow, and there's your bone. We're gonna take the rest of these out quickly so we can go on to telling you why farmed Atlantic salmon is better than wild salmon, and what category it's better than wild salmon. Because it's not all categories. Wild salmon still reigns supreme in most categories, so sorry about the clickbaitiness, but there is one area where farmed Atlantic salmon does reign supreme, and you should know about it before you judge all the farmed salmon out there. All right, now we got those pin bones out, we're gonna flip it back over. We're gonna stand up this collarbone. With this collarbone standing up like this, we're going to square it off. We call this squaring off in the seafood market And we do this for two reasons. One, the collarbone is delicious and it's nice to have a little bit of extra meat left on it. And two, we're in a retail seafood market and everybody wants fish to come in square shape, and that helps us start off at a nice flat surface instead of the pointed surface if we didn't take that piece of head meat off with the collarbone. Next, we're gonna trim off the membrane of the salmon. We're gonna slide our knife right underneath, pushing. Now we can just give a nice good push and that membrane comes right off. We're gonna do the same thing to the rest of the membrane right here. A nice good push. Once you're at the bottom, you can see there's some nice fat right there. We're going to outline that, get a grip, go around that pelvic bone. Then once you're here, you can just slide your knife forward. And that belly trim is going to be going on the smoker and mixed into our homemade smoked fish dip. And because our customers like fish squares, we're going to do the same thing to the tail. We're going to cut it off right there. That's going to go in smoked fish dip. This is fat. That's absolutely delicious, but we're making this salmon look like it came straight out of a factory. And look at that. That is just absolutely flawless looking farmed Atlantic salmon. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. I have to change my gloves for this. Before we flip this over to cut the other side, we take a spoon, push it right into that skeleton and slide down. And we're just gonna repeat that process. We got the bulk of that high loin right there, but we're gonna get the rest of it. Absolutely nothing goes to waste. Once we flip this fish over, it's gonna be resting on the cutting board, which had, the slime from the scales and whatnot. So we cut this out before doing that. And there is a reason why farmed Atlantic salmon is so much more popular for raw consumption than wild salmon. For one, it has a milder taste, it has a higher fat content, and it is very high in omega-3 fatty acids, just like wild salmon is. The difference between farmed and wild is most wild salmon has a much better balance of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids, making it healthier for you. This hidden fjord salmon, with its wild diet, has a great balance of omega-3 to omega-6, making this extraordinarily healthy. And here's the kicker. This fish has a parasite destruction letter. That means coming straight from the farm, fresh, never frozen, you can safely eat this fish raw. You can safely serve it raw with that letter. There is no concern of having parasites from eating raw fish that has not been previously frozen. And this fish not having been previously frozen has just an absolutely phenomenal texture, velvety butteriness on the tongue that you just don't get from a wild salmon that had to have been frozen. And the wild salmon is much leaner, so it does not freeze as well as the farm salmon in the first place, because the fish that has a higher fat content is going to freeze and defrost better, especially for a raw consumption. So you guys, I don't disagree with you. There are many categories where wild salmon is best. I am a big advocate for working with local commercial fishermen and getting in local wild fish. We carry very little farmed fish at our seafood market. Our main focus is on what local commercial fishermen are catching. But for the reasons I just stated, this is a phenomenal product. If you guys want more educational fish processing content, please subscribe to our channel. Have a killer day.